Hey, muy buenas noches to everyone. I hope everybody's doing well and as always enjoying family. And first and foremost, please allow me to thank everyone again for you guys' words and for you guys' prayers. From the last video that got put up, be sincere with everyone. I haven't really had time to read through the comments. It's been a little bit difficult at my end, to the point where doctors have been seen and dates have been cut shorter, and just a bunch of human things, which I'm not gonna say they're gonna happen. I leave that to a higher power, and so it is what it is. It's just a lot more things have been failing or going wrong on me, and it's just to make it simple for everyone. It's just been difficult. Hope you guys understand, and if you've been with me or following my story, you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, with this said, I'm gonna get in a little bit of story. How to continue off when we're in this penal that I've been touching up on the last couple videos. Uh, like I stated before, there was a big old movement started happening inside. To where as everyone that knows how Mexico works, or kind of, mainly when the plaza moves on the outside, the plaza starts moving on the inside as well, and at this time, we were hearing about how it wasn't with the people we were aligned, you could say, with, were taking over, but it was the guys from Jalisco, and so we figured, it was time for us to get our get backs, to be sincere, because like I stated in previous videos, when we got there, we really had them we had them put on us gacho, just for the simple fact that we were sureños, and just little dumb issues that were occurring, throughout the time we were there, and even though things eased up a little bit, it's still, it's we still did it to us. So we can't just sit back and just allow it to happen with no type of response back. So anyways, you started noticing the changes inside. As start being a little bit more paranoid when it came to where the feria came inside. For example, they had an area where they had a whole bunch of vatos uh, doing pita for them, or belts, and so they had a whole bunch of their crews out there, and mainly there was a couple other there were certain spots, to put it like that. For example, Blas Leiva, he had a little restaurant, the Mariscos, and he usually just had the workers there while he was there, but now he had, two, three different changos there with him, to take care of him, and we started noticing these little spots, which we knew there was three spots we had to hit him, at least to the point where to have him feel us, because if we rushed one side, what we weren't gonna prove a point. So we did what we know what to do. We started just taking laps, and starting picking up Klecha, eye hogging everything where it was at, what we should do, and we eventually came up with the strategic, or the plan, to hit the restaurants, with two camaradas, and at this time there was about a good 35, 40 heads of camaradas there, and that's included the pilis. So we figured, you know, the three spots of the restaurants, they were gonna be hit by two camaradas going there with fierros and hit the target, which one was Blast, the other one was Puerca, and the other one was they call him Chili or something. Nah, Chili used to be a homie supposedly, but never once did he come out to closet where from or anything like that. Uh, but anyways, so we figured it was gonna be six camaradas that were gonna hit the points, hit the target, and at the same time the rest that were left, we were gonna rush where they had the vatos piteando and hit all their little talabanes there. And for those that are aware of Mexico, we knew what was coming after, but at the same time, we're gonna get ours. There was an old camarada that was with us in the system, and he told me one time, yo estoy dispuesto a recibir una si puedo dar una bien puesta, you know, which it means, I'm down to receive one if I'm able to give one righteously, which was we were going to hit him good, and we knew what was coming next, because they haven't not had not lost the state at this time. They still had control, so we're going to make it worth it. So it's exactly how it happened. Basically, the only ones, to be sincere, that were nagging and complaining on keeping things easy and allowing things to flip around, and it was uh it was the three pilis, that were there, and mainly it was because they were dope fiends, tecatos. They knew once we did this, it was back to being arragado and getting stomped on, and but it is what it is, and they didn't have no choice but to roll with the punches, because at the end of the day, for those that have clecha and know, ain't nobody allowed to tell you can't defend your pride. If you know what a campolero is and what the causa really stands for, there is no one that could tell you can't defend your pride. Sureño has the right to always ask questions, and as campolero, always have the right to defend your pride. Nowadays it became something ridiculous to where, dispensa to say it like this, camaradas are being punked by these people. But, when I was there, I got taught by a senor, and I got told numerous times by good senores that even a pili can't tell you you can't defend your pride or say what they say nowadays. If you touch him, that's your ass. It's just, back then, worst case scenario is, you're going to lay the yard down, you're going to make it personal, and you're going to handle your business the right way. You're going to grab your piece, he's going to grab his piece, and you go to town good. Nada de que they hit the alarm, you hit the ground. Nah, you're going to go to town. So anyways, I dispense, I went off track, but basically, the day came to where we were gonna do this, and I was in the team that was gonna rush the piteros, because once we divided the people, it was about 25, 26 that we were gonna rush the piteros, and that's where the crowd was at. In the other places, it was the homies were gonna get stomped regardless, because each puesto had at least the main fool and four fools watching it, and it was just going to be two shooters. And so we all knew we were at losing ends. That's why we were coming in blazing, with pedazos and just doing what we had to do as much as we could. Now we were aware that these vatos, they didn't have, you know, what we were used to, like, this weren't the California pintas, where you might be lucky to make a bone crusher. Now, right here, you had righteous fileros, from the calles, and I believe it was like 2 weeks before this, before we even came up with this plan, where they actually took out a gang of guns from this pinta. So we were aware of what was coming, but it was like, we're meant for war, so we're used to always, doing things under a gun, or outnumber, or however. So the point was, they ended up, putting hands on us, and we had to retaliate. Even if the odds weren't in our favors, we had to make our presence be shown. That we weren't chumps or punks. So not to make it too long, the day came, and it went like a little ladder. For example, from the field, you cross the field, and there's a little like spot where you can sit down. So we were all sitting there, and right across the field, it was where they had the piteros, which was the the handball court. But from there, you were able to see two restaurants of the points. So we were aware that once they started going off, we were going to rush across and go off too. So it was like, it started happening. We started hearing it, and boom, 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 and we rushed across, and you know we rushed up in there, and at this time there was a couple of Aztecas I was working with them. So to be sincere, my objective was, you know, towards them. So I went at it towards this fool they called Pato, and we started going in town, and we got the best of them in the beginning. You could say like the first 2-3 minutes, but then after a while it was just too many heads. It wasn't like a California riot. For example, where you're waiting on the alarm and you're waiting for the whole goon squad to run up in there and stop it. There ain't nobody gonna rush up in there to stop anything. We knew it was boogie time. They were gonna do what they were gonna do regardless. So just remember that we started from having the upper hand. We started getting stomped in. And I remember they beat us down so bad, and they they took us down to the Siete Locos again, and they stomped us in, and they left us. I'm not gonna say for dead, because I'm not gonna put that much glory in them, but they left us stomped in. I'll just leave it like that. And this is when I wanna start finessing in my stories. You could say that, because my objective, to be sincere with everybody, was to tell my story, and then hopefully come back around, and touch on how on all my stupidity I seem to lose track on how God, or my higher power, which in my case is Jesus, right? I just don't want to offend nobody, is why I say higher power. But was always there, one way or another. He was always there, present in my life, showing himself, like telling me, like, look, I did this. Take your mind off the focus of the bad. There's something good here, which there is always something good in everything that happens in your life. For example, in this day, they left us that night like that. The next day, I hope you guys could really put your head around the fact, that we were just rushed. a direct uncle from the Beltran Leivas, a cousin, and La Puerca was number one sicario. You know, they got booked. Not all the other ones that we booked, they weren't really nobody. They were just Talibanes that were under them. But regardless, these three factors were the ones that camaradas they went up in there and got them. So the next day, they came from the streets. Literally they came from the streets, and it wasn't no more of them. Beat it on saying con tablas or whatever you want to say. It was them fools really came in. Con guns, started pistol whooping us, con cuernos and everything. And you know they got tired and told us they were gonna be back. And for those that want to verify this, when this happened, it's real difficult to put higher power in this, but I see it now. And I hope nobody takes it in the wrong way. I'm not in any way, shape, or form associating, God's hand with something negative. But negative happens every day. But I really have the feeling that these vatos, it was like, we put hands on his people. They said it real clear. We'll be back tomorrow. They were trying to get things direct in line with the director for them to be able to take us out and get us out of there, which they tend to do all the time. That I seen with my own eyes. But it's like I said, there's been problems before, and from being down at Regados behind the fence. I don't know if you guys recall. I told you guys they had them behind that fence. The Cartel Jalisco took over, and they removed every single one of the Beltranes. And you guys can look this up. Beca Ranza, Tepic Nayarit. There was 12 dead inside from the Beltranes. It wasn't us. It was the Jaliscos that moved on them and took over the penal that day. Them cats, they didn't even ask questions. They just figured we were down there beating it was because we were going against them. So they let us out. No buts or ifs, no, nothing. Is what happened is we're rebelling against these fools and they were beating us in. All right, you guys are cool now. Got kicked out. Now I'm not associating the negative in what happened to get us out of there. I'm associating the fact that I sincerely feel in my heart that this was one of the many times that I had one more day to live, you know, and it was just a higher power telling me, like, look, out of how many situations do I have to take you out before you know, you acknowledge me? And to be sincere with everyone, I still didn't for a while. I didn't till the minute I felt I was drowning completely by being done wrong by these people, and I had decided to step back and really had the time to sit down and analyze every situation I have lived, that I came to see all these things. But again, I don't want to bore you guys with my beliefs. My beliefs, I feel everyone's beliefs are personal. So I just thought I will share you guys just this outlook I have for things now. It ain't. I'm not on here to tell a story of how big and bad I am. I'm not big and bad. I'm stupid and pendejo. For all the stuff I endure and seen and that get done wrong and wrong. And as you guys will hear, I kept getting done wrong. But anyways, we got let out, and the vatos that took over for Jalisco, it was a whole different cha-cha. It was different, and they have a lot of similar things to Sinaloa, and at this time it was like whatever between them. It was like They were cool because they were after Las Zetas, the Beltranes, mostly after the same people, but I will touch on that, I just thought I will share with you guys this little, I don't know if you want to call it riot, but it wasn't really nothing about Ryan, it was just we felt we had to defend our pride from getting touched on, beaten, and we went back. We defended it, but we got beaten again, and just looked in on how down the line I saw that God was present that day with me, And I know it might sound dumb to a lot of you guys, and I apologize for there. I apologize for it, and I just thought I would. Now that all you have known me a little better, I would express myself a little more fairly, without offending nobody, But I will continue with my story. Again, mil disculpas if I went MIA a little bit, I've been bad, real bad health wise, and so I don't know. Pretty soon here, don't be surprised if I come up here and do what I gave you guys my palabra to do before I decided to, stop this, which is introduce myself properly. It's just I will touch on my health a little further. I don't want you guys to think that I'm over here BSing anything. So I do want to share with everyone all my MRIs, my studies, everything from about a year back to date. But again, muchísimas gracias for you guys' time, words, and prayers. Y como siempre, stay true to yourself. Stay loyal to your loved ones. Stay loyal to yourself. Muy buenas noches, que descansen.